Hi, I welcome you all for my today's video lecture on course Cryptography and Network Security. I am Professor CMT Karthikeyan, working for Computer Science and Engineering Department, Government College of Engineering, Bargur. Today, we are going to have a discussion on RSA algorithm under the unit Public Key Cryptography. Following are the contents we are going to take for our discussion. First, we should know what is public key cryptography. Then we should know the difference between private key cryptography and public key cryptography. Then we are going to discuss about public key applications. And then we are going to discuss the prerequisites required for RSA algorithm. Then we are going to discuss RSA algorithm itself. Finally, we are going to end up the session with worked out example. What is public key cryptography? Public key cryptography is otherwise known as asymmetric cryptography or two keys cryptography. As the name implies, it uses two keys. One key is a public key, the other key is called as a private key. A public key may be known to everyone, but they can able to encrypt or verify the signatures. In contrast, the private key can only be known to only one person who can perform decryption or he or she can create signatures. The person who can able to encrypt or verify signatures cannot decrypt or create signatures. That is the strength of a public key cryptography. So now we are going to discuss the difference between private key cryptography and public key cryptography. Based on our earlier discussion itself, we will clearly differentiate private key cryptography and public key cryptography. Private key cryptography is otherwise known as symmetric key cryptography because it uses only one key for both the sender and receiver, whereas public key cryptography uses two keys, one for the sender, the other for the receiver. In the case of a private key cryptography, if the hacker deduces the key, so whatever the information is being exchanged by the sender and receiver will be very well read by the hacker. There is a security lapse in the case of a private key cryptography. Whereas in the case of a public key cryptography, the person who is encrypting cannot decrypt the message, or the person who can verify the signatures cannot create the signatures. So in the case of a public key cryptography, the security is somewhat better compared to the private key cryptography. We cannot take this public key cryptography as a replacement for private key cryptography. Rather, this public key cryptography complements the private key cryptography. So this is the scenario of public key cryptography. If Bob wants to send a message to Alice, then obviously Bob has to encrypt his message with the public key of Alice. So then that ciphertext will be transmitted to Alice. Then Alice will decrypt that ciphertext with his own private key that cannot be even known to the Bob. So this is the scenario of a public key cryptography. So these are the applications. We can classify the applications in three ways. So through public key cryptography, we can achieve encryption and decryption, and we can perform key exchange, and we can create and verify digital signatures. But in the case of a private key cryptography, we can perform only encryption and decryption. So now we are going to discuss the prerequisites for understanding the RSA algorithm. Two important prerequisites are multiplicative inverse and Euler-Tauschen function. Multiplicative inverse. How we can define multiplicative inverse? For example, we are trying to find the multiplicative inverse of 3 under modulo 26. So here we are finding that 9 is the multiplicative inverse. How? When we are multiplying 9 with 3, it gives 27, and performing modulo under 26 will be getting remainder as 1. So then we can say that 9 is the multiplicative inverse of 3. So now we can put it in a definition form. When one number can be the multiplicative inverse of another number. So one number can be the multiplicative inverse of another number when that number is multiplied with the number for which the multiplicative inverse has to be found. Then performing a modulo under n should leave a remainder 1. Then we can say that a number which is multiplied is called as a multiplicative inverse. Is it possible for getting the multiplicative inverse for all the numbers? No. It is important to note that the multiplicative inverse exists only if the two numbers are relatively prime. When we can say that two numbers are relatively prime? If the GCD of two numbers is equal to 1. Now we take another example which shows that we cannot find the multiplicative inverse. Now we will try to find the multiplicative inverse of 4 under modulo 26. We cannot find the multiplicative inverse of 4 because GCD of 4 comma 26 is equal to 2, which is not equal to 1. This shows that 4 and 26 are not relatively prime. In the previous case, GCD of 3 comma 26 is equal to 1. This tells that 3 and 26 are relatively prime. So we are able to find the multiplicative inverse of 3 in that case. So 9 is the multiplicative inverse of 3. Then now we'll discuss about Euler-Torsion function. Euler-Torsion function is going to return the number of values that are relatively prime with a given number. Euler-Torsion function is denoted by phi of n. It takes the various forms. The first form is phi of p equal to p minus 1, where p is a prime. Second form is phi of p into q is equal to phi of p into phi of q. This second form will be used when the value or when the argument of the function would be composite number. So we know that composite number can be expressed as product of primes. Now we'll see through an example. Phi of 7. This takes the help of the first form, that is phi of p equal to p minus 1, where p is a prime. Here 7 is a prime, so we are getting p minus 1 equal to 6. This 6 is nothing but there are totally 6 values that are relatively prime with 7. The values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. You can find GCD of those numbers, which will give the GCD as 1. GCD of 1, 7 is 1, 2, 7 is 1, 3, 7 is 1 and so on. We will take the other form, phi of 10. Now 10 is not a prime number, it is a composite number. So we can express this number as product of two primes, phi of 5 into 2. Now we can take the help of the second form, that is phi of p into q is equal to phi of p into phi of q. Here phi of 5 into 2 can be written as phi of 5 into phi of 2. Now this is a prime which will help us to take the help of the first form, that is 5 minus 1 4, 2 minus 1 is 1. So 4 into 1 is 4. Totally there are 4 values that are relatively prime with 10. Those values are 1, 3, 7 and 9. You know that GCD of 1, 10 is 1, 3, 10 is 1, 7, 10 is 1 and 9, 10 is 1. Now we are going to discuss the algorithm. So RSA, it is named after their inventors Ron Rivers Shamir Adleman of MIT in 1977. It is the best known and widely used public key cryptography scheme. It uses a very large prime numbers that itself ensures RSA security. Now we'll see the RSA algorithm. So each user generates a public and private key pair by selecting two large prime numbers, namely p and q. Then they are computing n equal to p into q, followed by they are calculating phi of n equal to p minus 1 into q minus 1. Then we need to choose a random encryption key E such a way that it should lie between 1 and phi of n. Then we need to compute the decryption key in such a way that when D is multiplied with E under modulo n should leave the remainder 1. So we are finding the decryption key D on the basis of the concept called as multiplicative inverse. Now we are going to publish the public encryption key P equal to E comma N, keeping the secret private decryption key PR equal to D comma N. So this is the formula for encryption, that is obtains the public key of the recipient PU equal to E comma N, computes the encryption using the formula called as C equal to M power E mod N. So where we know that M is our original message or plain text, C is called as a ciphertext, E is our encryption key. This is for decryption. It uses the private key PR equal to D comma N. M is our original message. So decryption is the process of getting back our original message from the ciphertext. M equal to C power D mod N, where D is the decryption key. Note that message M must be smaller than N. Now we'll look into the worked out example. For our better understanding, we'll take the smaller prime values for our worked out example. Our original message plain text M has been taken as 3. Prime numbers has been taken as P equal to 5, Q equal to 11. Then we need to compute N equal to P into Q, which is nothing but 55. Then we need to compute Euler-Torsion function phi of N, which is nothing but phi of P into Q equal to phi of P into phi of Q, which is nothing but P minus 1 into Q minus 1, which is nothing but 5 minus 1 into 11 minus 1 equal to 40. Now we need to find the encryption key randomly in such a way that it should lie between 1 and 40. So we are taking the encryption key as 23 here, and moreover on GCD of 23 comma 40 is also equal to 1, and it also lies between 1 and 40. Then we need to find the decryption key using the concept of a multiplicative inverse. That is, when we are multiplying the D with E and performing modulo under 40, it should leave remainder 1. So based on this, we are finding D equal to 7. When 7 is multiplied with 23 and we are getting the value as 161, and performing a modulo under 140, it leaves remainder 1. So obviously D is going to be 7. So PU equal to 23 comma 50, that is E comma N, PR equal to 7 comma 55, that is D comma N. Now we are going to perform an encryption part. The formula is C equal to M power E mod N. Once again I am telling you, M is our original message or plain text, C is going to be our ciphertext that is coming out of the encryption process. C equal to 3 power E value is 23 mod N is equal to 55. 3 power 23 can be written as 3 power 7 into 3 power 7 into 3 power 7 into 3 square mod 55 for our simplicity. So now we are finding 3 power 7 in the by further subdividing into 3 power 4 into 3 square into 3. So you can apply the modulo operation in any part of the arithmetic operations. So 3 power 4 is nothing but 81. Here also you can apply the, if we want to bring the value within the range of 55, you can apply the modulo here. So 81 mod 55 into 3 square into 3. 81 mod 55 leaves the remainder 26. So the expression becomes 26 into 9 into 3 mod 55. 26 into 9 gives 234. So it is too big, so we need to perform a modulo division under 55. So 234 mod 55 into 3. So 234 mod 55 gives 14. 14 into 3, which gives 42. 42 mod 55. So 42 is already in the range of 55. So 42 mod 55 will give the result as 42. So we have found out the value of 3 power 7 mod 55 as 42. Now we are going to substitute that 42 in the given expression. So we are going to replace 42 with every occurrence of 3 power 7. So the expression becomes 42 into 42 into 42 into 9 mod 55. So 42 into 42 becomes 1764, which is greater than 55. So we need to apply modulo division for 1764. So the 1764 mod 55 into 42 into 9. So 1764 mod 55 leaves the remainder 4. So the expression becomes 4 into 42 into 9 mod 55. 4 into 42 gives 168, which is greater than 55. So we need to apply modulo division for 168, which is going to leave the remainder 3 for 168. So the expression becomes 3 into 9 mod 55. So 3 into 9 is nothing but 27. 27 mod 55, which is the final result is 27. That is our required ciphertext. So why 27 mod 55 is 27 means 27 is the permissible value which lies between 0 and 54. So the permissible range of modulo 55 is nothing but the value between 0 and 54. So 27 lies within that range. So which is our required ciphertext. Using this ciphertext, we are going to get back our original message or plain text value. Now we will see it in the next slide. So now we are going to discuss the decryption. It is the reverse process of encryption, right? So we are going to use the ciphertext for getting back our plain text or our original message. The formula used is m equal to c power d mod n, where c is the ciphertext, m is our original message or plain text. So the ciphertext, so the expression becomes m equal to 27 power 7 mod 55. So we know that the ciphertext we have found out is 27. So 27 power 7 can be written as 27 square into 27 square into 27 square into 27 mod 55. So once we compute 27 square, we can replace that result with every 27 square in the expression. So first we will compute the value of 27 square. So 27 square is equal to 729, which is greater than 55. So we are performing a modulo division with 55, which gives the remainder as 14. So we are going to replace 14 with every occurrence of 27 square. So the expression becomes 14 into 14 into 14 into 27 mod 55. So now we are going to perform 14 into 14, which gives 196, which is greater than 55. So apply modulo division with 196, so which gives the remainder as 31. So expression becomes 31 into 14 into 27 mod 55. Now we are going to perform 31 into 14, which gives 434, which is greater than 55. Now we are going to perform a modulo division on 434, which leaves the remainder 49. Then the expression becomes 49 into 27. Then we are going to multiply 49 and 27, which gives the value as 1323. On applying the modulo division with 55, which gives the remainder as 3. That is nothing but our original message. So we have got back our original message 3. Yeah. So this is a public key crypto system which is making use of encryption and decryption. So we have already discussed that public key crypto system is having 3 applications. One is encryption and decryption, second one is for digital signature, and third one is a key exchange. So in terms of digital signature, private key is used for creating the digital signature and public key is used for verifying the signature. That is, private key is used at the sender end and public key is used at the receiver end, which is directly contrast to the concept of an encryption and decryption, because public key is used at the sender end and private key is used at the receiver end in the case of an encryption and decryption. Whereas the third application is called as a key exchange. That is, if you want to share the secret key between the sender and receiver, that can also be achieved with the help of a public key crypto system. The familiar algorithm for key exchange is Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm. So this is the book that I have followed for today's discussion, Cryptography and Network Security, Principles and Practices, 4th edition by William Stallings. Thank you for your patient listening.